Hello, fight fans, and welcome to another episode of the Square Circle, where we are pound for pound the best at bringing you boxing past, future, and present. I'm your host, David Hamlin, and in tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about the battles, the anniversary of the battles that Sugar Ray Robinson had with Gene Fullmer. On May 1st, he had his second fight with Fullmer, which he actually was getting revenge on a loss that took place earlier that January of that year because they fought all the time back in. Okay, so let's jump into this thing with Robinson and Fullmer. They fought a total of 4 fights and they split 2-2. So the first one was in January 57. The second one just had its anniversary with May 1st being the date on that. And Robinson actually won that one by KO. So if you just take a look at these awesome nostalgic photos, I love watching the old black and white fights. No pun intended. But I love watching the old fights. You know, those guys back then, they just did it different. They fought every 2 weeks to every 3 months. They were always busy. They were always racking up their records. Fighters now, you know, especially if you think of, you know, the De La Hoyas and the Floyd Mayweathers of recent years, fighters like that, you know, you're getting 1 to 2 fights a year. And you just get this, like, anticipation, like, when are they going to fight again? Like back then, they didn't have to worry about it. It was like, oh, he's fighting again this weekend. Didn't he just fight? Yeah, but he's fighting again. You know, you always had that gratification of watching your hero, you know, or back then listening on the radio, whatever you could muster up. If you take a look at this fight poster that I found from back in the day, this is the actual one that was, you know, posted up on billboards and things like that. What do they even put it on back then? You know, restaurants, telephone poles? I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. I'm not that old. I'm only 35, almost 36. I don't want to talk about it. Why are you bringing up age? Let's take a look at Robinson's record here real quick. This wonderful champion of old accumulated 173 wins with 19 losses and 108 knockouts to his credit. He was champion at welterweight and the middleweight division. I mean, that's impressive, guys. I mean, let's look at that number of KOs alone. Fighters don't even reach that number in total fights in their careers anymore. And I think that's a shame. I think that we should go back in time, and these fighters should muster up this willpower and desire to have careers like this. And I think you would see a different sport again if fighters were willing to just let it all out and put it all on the line and not worry about getting a loss here and there. Nobody is going to remember Sugar Ray Robinson for his 19 losses. Hell no. They're going to look at that 173 victories that he had and the 108 knockouts that he had. People don't give a shit about his losses. They know that he wasn't scared to fight anybody, and he was willing to just go in there week after week, train nonstop, and just go in and make these fights happen. Now, one thing that boxing fans have to get past is when we view these records, these fighters' records, we don't need to focus so much on the losses. Mickey Ward, for instance, you have these fighters that, regardless of the number of losses, are still quality opponents. And everybody looks past him because they're like, oh, he lost 3 fights. Oh, he lost 4 fights. He's a bum. No, fuck that. He's not a bum. It was just that he was willing to take on the top opposition. If you want to play it safe, tons of fighters could be freaking rocking zeros on their records, man. You know, but I think we have this bad tendency as boxing fans as a whole, as a sport, we need to get past this whole judgmental phase. Like, oh man, he lost 3 fights. Let's put him out to pasture, or maybe he can be a gateway fighter. Like, fuck that. That's bullshit. And we need to get past that, because if we look back in the day, as an example, they didn't look at fighters the same way. They would allow themselves to look past their losses and realize the fact, hey, this guy fights everybody and he's always trying to be that top fighter. Competition is key. Competition is at the forefront of the sport, not, you know, the big glamour and the big money. You know what I mean? Like guys like Broner and everything, and they're so quick to rock that jewelry and act like they made it, when just because you were on top for 3 years, you ain't made it. In the sport of boxing, if you want to be one of those guys that go down in history and be remembered, you know, you got to keep that shit going longer than, you know, a 3-year reign or a 2-year reign or whatever. You know, you got to stay at the top for a long time, so you stay in the conscious mind of all the fans and the public. And, you know, I just wish that it was a little bit more like the old school ways, where everybody fought everybody, and we didn't pay so much attention and focus so much on the record, you know, just because they got a couple losses. I mean, Mickey Ward, for example, nobody, you know, gave Mickey Ward much of a chance later in his career once he got past, you know, 8 losses, and then he got 9 and 10, and I think he had like maybe 11 or so going into the Gotti fight the first time. I'm not sure on that, but around there. But you know, and nobody gave him a chance, and he was able to not get more titles at that point, but he was still able to have a spot in the sport that, you know, brought all the fans in, and everybody loved him for it, you know, for giving us those great fights with Arturo. All right, so I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Please hit that like and subscribe if you're interested in this channel. If you're interested in boxing and you want to talk boxing, comment below. Engage the channel. That would be great if we could just get some conversation going back and forth. And give me your opinion about everything. Am I totally full of shit? Am I wrong? Let me know. I mean, I probably won't cry too much at night, but, you know, just let me know what you think. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. And until next time, remember to keep those hands up, and take care. Thanks.